Yes.
Okay. Isn't the sanctuary beautiful?
Yes.
We're going to give thanks for all the elves that did their magic yesterday. So today is the first Sunday of Advent, and so we look at our spiritual power of faith. I can't tell you how many countless times while I am in a spiritual counseling session when someone is going through a very difficult time, where I will hear these words, I can't seem to find my faith. I don't have faith anymore. And as I hold space of knowing the truth of the beauty of the person and the power of the person that sits with me and graces my presence, I proceed to explain what our spiritual power of faith is. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, said that faith is the perceiving power of our mind. And to be a little bit more expanded in that definition, faith is our ability to perceive, have conviction, and have anticipation. So you see, we can never be without faith because we are always perceiving something. Our mind is always filled with thoughts. And we're always placing our energy and conviction in something. And based on what we are perceiving, believing, and where we are placing our energy, so goes our actions, and so goes what we anticipate in our lives. Right? We talk about the power of our perceptions, our thoughts. So then where I lead them is, so what are the perceptions that are filling your mind right now? What is it that you are believing about yourself? Depending on what they share about another individual, about the situation or event in their life. What are you perceiving? Are you perceiving that you are weak and broken and wounded and diseased because of the appearances? And if so, how is that influencing your energy? We place then our conviction and energy in our smallness and our brokenness. And we then anticipate doom and gloom. Right? Are we perceiving someone's brokenness, evilness, otherness, because of the hurts of their actions? And is it hard? Sometimes even when we see a loved one going through something, to see the perception or hold the perception and the conviction of their wholeness. Or when we see dark things happening around us in this world, do we then have conviction in darkness and doom and gloom, and we anticipate more of the same? So really, when somebody is saying, I can't find my faith, I have lost my faith, it is really saying I am placing my perceptions, my convictions, and my anticipations in brokenness, shortcomings, darkness, and I am filled with much fear, trepidation, worry. Now, I'm not saying going through this journey is easy, but it is our spiritual principles that we must rely on and call forth with all of our being, all the time, but especially during those challenging times. It is often said that faith is the rock of our foundation. And the master teacher spoke, as cited in Matthew chapter 16, verse 18, "Upon this rock I build my church." The metaphysical meaning of church is not a structure. It is not a building for four walls of brick and mortar or sheetrock or whatever it is built of. The metaphysical meaning of church is the aggregation of spiritual ideas firmly established in one's consciousness. So it is upon that rock you build rock solid spiritual faith. You see, it's where we will place our faith, in sand or in a rock solid foundation. If our perceptions, convictions, and anticipations are aligned with spiritual truth and we allow them to lead the way, versus sand, where we allow our weakness and darkness, the belief in that, right? Because our thoughts, our actions, our attitudes create our experiences, influence the world around us. So Jesus often taught through parable. And parable is another word for narrative with symbolism in it. To take complex situations to teach a moral lesson. So I figured, why not lighten up a little bit? In the spirit of light, in the spirit of Christmas, we are going to look at the parable of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Of Rudolph, and how does it apply to our faith faculty, where we direct our faith. So, like all parables that Jesus spoke, there was a symbolism and a hidden meaning, right? So let's first take Comet, the reindeer Comet, right? Metaphysically, he represents the conditioning of our personality self. All the individuals, our caregivers, our teachers, institutions, society, right? That want to teach us how to be good bugs. Now, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, so we do need to navigate between the worlds, right? But the master teacher taught us how to be in the world, but not of it. And that is one of the most difficult things, especially when we are five sensory beings, right? By our appearances. So, Comet says, I want to teach you how to be good bucks, and he also says, we all want to ride Santa's sleigh someday, which is synonymous or symbolic of, I want to know what I have to learn in order to be loved, to be liked, and I have to be trained how to know that because, see, I don't have that inner wisdom. I want to know what I have to do to get into college. I need to know what to do to get that great job or to get the man or woman of my dreams. How do I have to mold and shape myself? That's what we begin to learn from the symbolism that we learn from Comet, is that conditioning of ourselves. I can't tell you how many times I used to be part of an organization when I was teaching called Bridges, where we used to go in, I've spoken to this, to bring food and material to the homeless who actually lived on the streets in New York City. We went to 4 different locations. And I can't tell you how many teams went in and out of volunteering. And I would hear parents say, well, we're trying to, do something so we can put it on my son's or daughter's application. I didn't hear, so it was something to check off. I didn't hear, now I'm not saying all of them, we're here. I'm trying to teach the importance of service, about showing up and bringing light to dark places. And even when I was applying for to be in the FLP for ministerial candidate, I heard somebody said that they were going to, another individual, do a fundraiser. And they had it all planned. They got their acceptance before the event occurred, and the individual canceled the event. Now, that is our humanness. I just speak to it because we all have those things, those tricks that we do in our lives, right? To get ahead. And we have to live in this world. So I'm not saying that there's not things to do, but we have to be mindful for what consciousness are we moving and breathing and having our being. And then we move to good old Rudolph. That's you and I. Learning how to, where we're discovering, who am I? Did you ever ask that question? What is my purpose? And Jesus tells us our purpose is not our careers, although that can be a vehicle for you to express your divine gifts. But to live on purpose is always, not just when I check in at work, is where I'm using my gifts in service, where I am aligned with my authentic self in light. But it gets confusing as we navigate. Should I place my faith in the direction of my smallness and what I'm told I am? Or do I place it in my greatness? So Rudolph is on the hero's journey. Just like we did the Wizard of Oz with Dorothy, you and I are on that hero's journey. And what happens is many times when it gets so painful to stuff our light, to betray the truth and the light and the expression of who we want to be, gets so painful, guess what? We lose a job, we get sick. Now, I'm not saying that there's not other things. So those are opportunities, those are initiations, and if we can remember, oh my gosh, this challenge is an opportunity that is calling me higher somewhere in my life. Then we move to Clarice, beautiful Clarice, who sees the goodness. It is that Charles Fillmore called it the still small voice. I want to say the loud voice. Let it be loud. It is the voice of wisdom. It is our North Star that is always within us and that whispers to us, but we want to somehow silence it because of what we're told out here. We get confused. What should I place my faith in? And then we move to the Bucks, who laugh. That is group mind societal conditioning, right? That we seek to get our acceptance from, but no matter what we do, we will not get it because it is from lower consciousness thinking. And then one of my favorites, Charlie in the Box. Besides Hermie, the dentist, who's not in this clip. Who, after so much, see, we have our choice. Where we're going to place our faith. We're in this world. We have to learn how to navigate. We have these beliefs where we're told we're not enough, we have to do this, we have to jump this high, no, you're a little weird, stuff that down, whatever. So then we become the Charlie in the Box, the victim. If we allow ourselves. And we live on the island of misfits toys. And I think sometimes unity, we might be the island of greatness, not misfitness. But we come together as like-minded individuals to say, no, we are mighty beyond our belief. And then, we didn't see this part, Rudolph returns. He went away after being mocked, rejected. He goes off. That's his initiating experience. He goes off. But then he does some of that inner work that you can only do alone, that you can only do within. And he's like, you know what? I just have to be me. I have to express my uniqueness, my light. So he returns home, now energized, in a new consciousness, with his faith directed in the truth of his being. And now a storm hits, right? The snowstorm. That represents the storms of our lives. And what happens when a storm comes first? We get fearful. We worry, we doubt. Oh, should I believe this? You know, should I believe? Because then our insecurities start to surface. Do I really have it in me? Or should I really believe in my power and that wherever I stand, as Karen sang so beautifully, God is that invisible substance that I can tap into the goodness. I can bring goodness by being that expression through my song, through my actions. So we have that choice. So what happens? The red-nosed reindeer is our spiritual powers. And which one leads the sleigh? Our spiritual power of faith. It leads all of our spiritual powers. They all have to work in unison. But our perceptions and convictions and anticipation about how we love, our wisdom, our spiritual understanding affects everything. So we have to allow our spiritual understanding of our greatness, of the power and presence of God right where I am, despite what is going on, to lead our sleigh. So my friends, I ask you, this holiday season, ask yourself, who is navigating your sleigh? Is it Charlie in the box? Is it Clarice? And the energizing of your inner Rudolph, the knowing of the truth of who you are. So as I close, I want you to say your name, and then, won't you guide my sleigh today, or tonight, whatever you want to say. So together, Angela, won't you guide my sleigh?